So I love to take different papers that I have around, a lot of vintage papers, and make marks with them. And I like to, have little pieces that I can use in my collages. And I like to use materials that are not specifically made for art and things I find on my walks. So what I have here, I have a feather, I have this little branch, I have a piece of sage, I have this little dried flower and part of a pine cone. I have some other things over here too. And I have this gorgeous handmade brush from Leslie Rotner. She has a class that just launched on Jean Oliver's site about making these amazing brushes. So I have that one, and I have a larger one that I'm going to show you at the when I do a demonstration. I have this little stamp. It's either a 0 or it looks like an O to me, so I got it because it makes me think of Olivia. So you can make some marks with that. And the papers that I have, I just pulled some things from my in my studio. And what that is, let me get rid of that. And I went through a little box, let me see that. And I just pulled out different colors and different weights, and some of them even have writing on them, just little pieces. I like to use little pieces sometimes because it's just the perfect thing for a collage. And this one I made marks on a while ago, and sometimes maybe one day I'll use it. And then I have some blank pages, and this one had a little sketch on it. And that's another thing I could put in the collage. I could, create more on this page of this charcoal sketch and then tear it up. And I think this is a little piece of rice paper, some more rice paper. This is a piece of canvas that would really be fun to cut up, paint on and put some geometric marks like little circles or squares or lines. And this is a piece, I was using it for something else. It's a piece of drop cloth, and I like to put stitching in it. You can write on it and cut small pieces and add into my collages. And then I have a couple pieces of just regular craft paper. And then I have this big roll, not huge, super big, but this roll of rice paper. So what I'm gonna do is I wanted to try and keep it kind of simple with the marks and just create a page or two of them. And I want to demonstrate Leslie's brush because I'm kind of obsessed with them. And I will be using some of these too. So I think I'll get started. So the other thing I did too ahead of time, just so that you didn't have to watch paint dry, is I took a piece of tracing paper and I added clear gesso to it and let it dry. And then I put a little bit of gouache on top of it. And I'm using this color, it's called Misty Blue. It's really pretty. And it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a color and then put some black marks on top of it. Then I can tear this up, crumple it up, and add it into a collage or my journal. You could write on it in script, anything. So this is a fun thing to do too. So let's see what else do I have. Oh, I also have this Posca pen, which is really great. It's a little paint pen. And then I have a few other materials over here. So I'm gonna get started. Let's see. Let's just start with this here. Put these over to the side. And I have some ink, just some Speedball ink here. And I'm going to show you this one because this is really fun. So this is just this little dried flower, and I'm dipping it halfway into the ink. And I'm probably going to make a big mess. I already did. And I'm rolling it on its side. And it kind of splashes, and I go back through, and it just makes cool marks. So I can take this after it dries and use it in my collage. Cut it up, use it any way I want. So there, I just have, and I didn't put any gesso on this paper. I'm just doing it straight on the paper. Quite often I'll put clear gesso on old paper. So you can do that ahead of time if you want to. So there's a little piece. I like that. It's just fun to have, and then I would just keep it for whenever I want to use it later on when I'm looking for that perfect piece. All right, so now I really love these numbers here, but I want to put something on top of them. And I'm just going to take this round brush and just make some marks. So there's another layer that, and I could tear this up, I could put it into a collage. So this Speedball ink is just a great ink to use, but you can use any color you want. I've used paint before, and I'll do some paint as well. And I like to layer my collage pieces, so what I may do is take this and tear it and then combine it with a couple other pieces and stitch them together, just to get a more interesting little piece that's going to be added into the collage. Okay, so there's another piece, and I like seeing the little numbers underneath. All right, and let's see, what else do I have? Oh, I'm gonna do this. All right, so I have this little leaf here, and let's see, I think I need to use a little bit of green paint over here. Let me move this out of the way. I probably should just stick with one thing at a time, but I'm not going to. All right, I'm gonna put a little of this olive green paint. You can see that. All right, I got it watered down, and then I'm just going to take the edge of my feather and, well, let me get a little bit more water in here. Sometimes it works. And then just kind of make some little interesting can make little lines with it, which I think is really pretty. I like when it splashes. So this could go over another layer, and I could add more things to this as well. So you can just kind of experiment with the different marks it makes. That's pretty. Okay, so that's a little feather, so I have another piece. All right, now I really like this. I've done this once before. I'm gonna grab this little book here. And this is a little piece of dried sage, and then I'm gonna dip it into the ink here. And I really love what happens with this. And it just starts out, it makes this very delicate mark that you can just start your painting with. Do that right onto your paper, on your watercolor paper. I think it would probably work on anything. It's just such a delicate line, and I like having that change in, having something heavy, something delicate. So the line is always so interesting to include in your work. And I can just kind of pull it back through. So I could, paint this, and let's just see what happens here. I could paint this a color and then add that line to it. Let's just try it right here on top of this and see how it looks. I like the abstract quality of playing with this. It kind of loosens you up. I'm not trying to make, something perfect. then I could go back in with a, let's see, where did my paintbrush go? Here it is. And maybe add like little dots. Let's see if you can see this. Okay. Little dots in here. And I could just take this whole sheet and just add different things. I could add some words to it and then cut it all up and make it into more. But I probably would. I'd probably do some writing in here or add some bolder marks. I'm really... And it doesn't have to make any sense. It's just something that we can take and repurpose into our artwork, into our collages. Okay. Now I want to, let's see, I want to use this brush, Leslie's here. All right. It's got a really cool bristle, and I'm just going to dip it in to my ink. That is super cool. Look at that. So I can make some really bold marks. I like this idea of, you know, it's not a perfect stroke and there's these little bristles poking out, and I think you could do a lot with this. Let's just take this little piece. I'm gonna use this brush again. But this is a very old piece. A student gave this to me, this piece of rice paper. And I think it would be fun to just fill it up with different marks. And it's seeping through, but I'll clean that up. All right, this is really cool. I'll put the link to Leslie's site in the comments, but I really love that. And let's just see what happens since I'm here making a mess. And then I also have this little pine cone. I'm gonna dip it in and roll it around. That's kind of cool. All right. This beautiful piece of vintage paper, and I have this little branch, and I'm gonna dip it into the ink. I also like to think about the repetition of the marks, and since I'm kind of working with these organic materials, these natural materials, it's kind of unpredictable, and I like that. Okay. Right. I'm gonna set that aside and let it dry. I might add some more to it. I'm gonna use this craft paper, and I wanna show you, this is the Posca pen, which is a little paint pen, and it makes really pretty marks. So I'm going to do what I did in conversations, and I'm gonna write in script. And so I think I'm just gonna copy what's right on this little book here. And I'm going to connect all my kind of overlap. And kind of exaggerate. Okay, so now I have another little piece, and I can also do this on, let's find a darker piece of vintage paper. Let's see, how does it look on this? All right, so now I have another little piece that has interesting marks, but I actually wrote something that means something to me, and I can put that in. And oh, sorry, didn't mean to knock. You're gonna get seasick. This is also really great for, you know, just making little tiny tick marks on a piece of dark paper or on top of your paint. Tear that out. Then, where's my stapler? Okay, so I have this. Let's see, what else do I have? All right, this is an old one that I made. I'm just gonna tear that out. I keep knocking it, I'm so sorry. And then take my stapler and make some marks with my staples. Now I have another little piece that's ready to go in the collage. So I can add that to my collage paper. Okay, and I want to show you this one that I did. I just did some watercolor. I dipped this little guy in the watercolor and just kind of moved it all around. Then I dipped it again in the black and kind of layered it. So I did the watercolor first and then layered it, which I thought was kind of fun. And I did it here too, so it was just kind of more splashy. So I think it creates a really fun background, the ink. And let's see, what can we do? All right, let's mix that away. So now I have this little piece of canvas, and I think what I'm gonna do, I have this amazing brush. Here's another one of Leslie's brushes. Isn't this beautiful? She makes these all by hand. I mean, the artistry within the brush in itself is just incredible. I love this and this little kind of staple here and the way she's finished the branch. It's really beautiful. So I have a big container of ink here. Move my pieces out of the way. And I was playing with this brush and I created a couple of pages. I just want to show them to you. And I'll do another big page, but I think it would really be fun to put the paper on the floor, like a really large piece of paper, and then just make the marks. And you can use that as a layer in your painting. And you know, it's unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen. And so I was just moving it around in different ways. And I'm very excited to explore this more. I mean, I love these little lines. You can draw with it and get some really interesting effects with it. So I want to put it on this little piece of canvas here. Okay, and this is a piece from a rolled canvas that I had that I just cut off. And then I have some ink in here. And I would definitely use this in, dip it into paint, like mix up paint ahead of time, a color, and then maybe put this as a final layer on top. I think the possibilities are endless, and this is just, I love the organic shape. I'm keeping it on my shelf because I think it's like a little sculpture. It's so beautiful. All right, so I'm gonna dip it into here, and then isn't that beautiful? Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I like how this is just a raw canvas, so it's just gonna absorb the ink. It's not treated with gesso, and I think it's kind of interesting. All right, I'll put that, I just love that. I think it's so beautiful. You can just twist it. It's one of those things that kind of frees you up and you're creating, and then I could add layers of like you know, stitch into this, add some stitching. I think that would really be pretty if I, you know, took maybe my burnt sienna that I like to use and stitched right on top of this, which I may do. And if I do, I'll stick it in the glass. Okay, so now I want to do a really big piece of paper for you, so you can just see how it glides. I have just a plain piece of drawing paper here. And so what I think is fun is just to take a day, collect all your paper, and just kind of limit your palette if you want to use a paint color, if you want to use ink or different color inks, so that it's not an overwhelming process. And pull out, you know, get your art supplies, you know, things that we've used before, like skewers and your mechanical pencils and your paintbrushes, but also look for organic materials, you know, from your walks or your garden. And then just take out all your paper and just start making paper. Just start making collage and doing marks. And it will be, you'll have this whole stack that you can use in your work. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is so beautiful. Can you tell I'm excited about this? I'm so excited. I want to do a giant painting with just this brush. Okay, that's beautiful. I'm done now. I gotta frame it. It's so pretty. I think Leslie might be on, and so Leslie, you're awesome. This is so beautiful. Okay. All right, so let's look at what we had. I think, oh, I know what I didn't do yet. I want to find another piece of paper. Okay, here we go. All right, so I have this little piece here, and you can find these little wooden stamps. So I'm just going to, let's see if I can dip it into my ink and see if I make a mess. This is a little stick from something, and I don't know what, something in my garden. So I can take her and I can repurpose her into a drawing, take it apart, fold it in half, cut it in half. So I'm using just this little twig. So there's so many things that you can do. Now let's look at all the papers that I made today. And this is, you know, the first pass of them. So once they dry, I may go back in and do some more things to them.